lightning. Oh, it's so exciting. Hot metal. Woo! Welcome back again, my friends, and today I'm bringing you a very special tutorial, something a little personal. I'm laying out the color scheme that I've used and the approach to creating my own Age of Sigmar army. The holiday season is upon us, and I know a lot of people are going to get their gigantic adult hands on some tiny little plastic models to work through, so I thought now would be a good time to lay out just exactly how I do it. In this first video, I'm going to be painting up a Liberator, the basic battle line troop. We will add more videos in the future. The shield design is particularly kind of intricate and interesting, so I'm going to do that in its own separate video as well. We'll call that part 1.5. But there are a few methods and theories, morals, words of teaching. Berserker Riser coffee. Delicious stuff. So, one of the main points to remember here is an efficient order of operation. That is one of the first keys to painting quickly. Aside from just moving fast, move quickly in your mind and decide on the proper order of operations, which is why in this video, the order that you see this model painted in, that is the exact order that I did it in, and for specific reasons. You're going to see me skip steps. Why did he not lay a black wash down on the gray parts immediately? Well, I was waiting until all the metals were base coated, etc. You will see as it's laid out. The main thoughts there being, how can I paint this as quickly as possible, create an effective yet efficient combination, something that looks good on the tabletop but also doesn't depress me. So, let's share some thoughts on the theme and the scheme. The general feel I was going for with this army was a Celtic warrior theme. I didn't put a lot of knotwork on each warrior, but that's what led me to go for the kind of tarnished brassy gold color, the green tones. Generally these models are cold and dark. I left a lot of large shadow areas because I wanted kind of a very stark, kind of grim, foreboding look. So a lot of depth. Very small, sharp highlights, kind of a hard light situation. Alright, I'm going to try and recite the longest list of ingredients that I've ever listed on this Patreon. This is a recipe, so there's a lot less kind of mixing and feeling and touch it with your heart kind of painting methods that I'm always talking about. Love. So, anyways, the main suspects here, I don't know why I have to call them suspects, but we have from Vallejo black, buff, neutral gray. From P3, well, you can see the labels. We have moldy ochre, Iosin green, guncorpse brown, bloodstone, exile blue, gnarls green, titanium white. Oh, but it does not stop there. That's right, I've got a second set. Metallics, special effects. We have blighted gold, brass casings, gunmetal gray, stormhost silver, gloss varnish, Valhallan Blizzard, Dark Tone from Army Painter, Clear Red from Tamiya, Black Templar, Wildwood, and Dark Angels Green from the Contrast range. Without any further ado, let's get on to the lesson. Liberator, Step 1. In the beginning, the model has been color blocked. All the different areas have been painted in. I guess you could call this a base coat, but if you live in my mind, it's color blocked. So we have blighted gold as the main color of his armor, gunmetal gray from Vallejo for the metallic silver, gnarls green from P3 for those greeny bits, and then neutral gray from Vallejo for the belt, the areas between his elbows, his knees, all that jazz. So everything is base coated / color blocked in. Enter the airbrush. I have it loaded up with some black paint. Just gonna give it a test spray off to the side on my paper towel, make sure it's all coming out okay. Well enough, I suppose. Now we'll just we'll spray upwards, taking advantage of the three-dimensional qualities of the model. See that I'm able to shade everything in uniformly. I'm shading the silver, the bronze, the green areas. Just be very, very slow with this. A little bit goes a long way, and it's just like painting thin layers of paint down to create a smooth gradient. When I'm using the airbrush, many thin layers. You can make very quick mistakes, get very quick results with the airbrush. So just go slowly, rotate the model around in a circle in your hand. You'll start to see the accumulation taking place. You can see on the lower side of his chest armor there. Continue to just give it another round of shadows. Along the feet, along the bottom, I can just kind of spray straight at them. Just playing with the transparency. Alrighty, with that general shadow laid down, now I can paint the base. I'll be taking some black paint, a little bit of Exile blue, and just a touch of white, mixing them all together. I'm just making a very dark, cold, gray tone. That'll be the foundation for the rocks. Just throw that in place. Make sure to push it into every little crack and crevice. Now with an all-over coat of that deep blue-gray mixture, I'm able to take amounts of white, wet blend it in, stylize these rocks a little bit, pull out some of these jutting edges. Just generally lift up some of these areas where the dirt is piled up. Maybe there's a little mound or something. I'll wet blend a little color on top of that. Calm that stone down a little bit. Calm down, stone. With everything on the model base coated and a pass of shadows applied, let's lay down a unifying wash. I've produced small portions of contrast paint on my palette. I'm going to mix a little bit of water into this black Templar and just sweep it over the silver. And not only am I laying this black Templar contrast paint down on these silver areas, I'm also laying it over all these dark gray areas, the belt, the crevices of the knees. And then, you guessed it, all the bronze areas are getting a coat of wildwood, also from the contrast paint range. And lastly, all of the green areas are getting a coat of Dark Angel's green, also from the contrast paint range. All of this talk about contrast paints, and I almost forgot, the base also gets a coat of dark tone from Army Painter. Okay, now with everything base coated, shaded, a wash applied, I can start picking out some highlights. So this is a tabletop army. I know everyone has a different idea of what tabletop is, but my idea here is to really focus in on a certain area to make it pop. These models, for example, get a lot of extra attention paid to the green cloth areas, so that really stands out on the tabletop. And I also put a little extra effort into the shields. So kind of pick out a spot color and really make it pop, whatever that kind of main tone that themes out your whole army is. Feel free to spend a little bit of extra time on that. So, and luckily there isn't a whole lot of green on this model, so it should go quickly, but we'll get this loincloth highlighted up. I'm mixing amounts of Gnarls green in. I'm mixing amounts of Gnarls green in with Iosin green from P3. It's still going for a very kind of sharp, harsh light situation. So I still am showing a lot of these darker midtones. Let's kind of get these main raised areas highlighted up. With that first pass of highlights laid down, let's get in for a little closer look. Now I'm taking some of that pure Iosan green, mixing a touch of moldy ochre in with it, and then even a little bit of white. So I've got this real bright kind of limey green. Let's use that in a very sparing amount, just kind of edge highlighting. As I'm highlighting along, the base needs a little love as well. We'll take that main tone and just brighten it up even more with a little bit of white, and just give it an all over dry brush, picking out every little piece of pebble. And also, after I have these pebbles dry brushed up, I'm going to water down some bloodstone from P3 and just let it fall into some of these crevices. I just want to add, I've got the option to add a little bit of a dirt tone, so maybe it's piled up in some of these more broken down bits of rubble, a little bit of earth is showing through. Just lay in a subtle cruddy amount, let it kind of dry au natural. With that bit of paint still drying on the base, let's go through and grab our neutral gray from Vallejo. Very small amounts. I want to highlight up his belt and all those little gray grooves between his elbows. He's got a little piece of equipment. I don't know what's in this. Maybe a bundle of prayers. But we will highlight that as if it is black leather all the same. It's kind of fun to imagine underneath all this armor is just a man in a full body leather suit. And now, with all of those matte colors out of the way, I'm fine messing around with more metallic paints. Generally, I save them for a separate step or a separate cup of water, because those metallic flakes will contaminate your opaque colors. So I separate the stages a little bit. I'll take a little bit of this brass casings from Secret Weapon Miniatures and apply it to all the bronze areas. Very slight amounts of paint. I will blend here and there just a little bit. But I'm just adding, kind of a shiny cap to the top of all these metal areas. I still have that final highlight of silver to go, but seeing as the gold / brass bronze area is so dominant on the model, why not go through and quickly just give a little touch, give a little push. Now, with everything blocked in as it is, I have a few steps remaining. I have final silver highlights. I want to lay down some snow on the base. So both of these things I want to do after I lay down a protective coat of matte varnish. It's going to diminish the silver highlights. It's going to take away the gloss from the snow. So I'll do the matte varnish now and the final silver highlights and snow later. Now with the base dry, I'll be adding a little snow to my guy. Be using Valhalla Blizzard to start off from Citadel. I'll be using that slightly used brush from the earlier dry brushing stage. Scoop a bit of this out. Place a kind of a large pile down. Spread it around. Let's take a little of that off the brush. Touch it to the bottom of his loincloth where that would be. The cloth would be kind of clinging to some of the snow. Not bad. So also, off camera, I have a little bit of a gloss varnish from Vallejo. I'm going to go ahead and slop this around. As snow melts, it turns back into water, so as the snow is kind of patchy on the ground here, we'll lay some gloss varnish into these more melted areas. So I'll be laying it around the boundaries of my little blips of the Valhallan tundra. Okay, with that snow dry enough, time for a little bit of a victory lap. We can polish off all the points on this metal with a final highlight of Stormhost Silver. The brightest silver in my collection at the moment. And again, same as the gold, we'll go and lay down a very small, tasteful amount, doing kind of laying down sharp highlights, making a little bit of paint go a long way. The old less is more equation. Pick out each little bolt, making sure to not completely cover the last layer of golden highlights that I laid down. We'll just gently dance along the edges of his armor. Praise be to Sigmar. Okay, and here he is with the shield attached. I'm going to break away and do a separate video on painting the shield, so we can look forward to that, but I think it deserves to have its own feature. But at this point, I've got a little Tamiya clear red available, a crappy toothbrush, and a crappy piece of paper with which to spray blood upon. We'll dip the paintbrush into the clear red, take a little bit of it away, and just very gently, carefully flicking just a little bit of blood out of the situation. On an active battlefield, you can even touch the brush down. See, it's tempting to just spray the model down with blood, but a little touch, I think the subtlety works a little bit better. You can put some onto the sword here as well. But this red is adding a nice, warm, complementary color to the situation. You've got this kind of cold, dark backdrop, the green, the white. It's all complemented very nicely by a little touch of the red. One more touch. Too much. Take that away with my finger. Hey, globs happen. And maybe just a little. All right. I will take my own advice. Don't get carried away too much with the blood. Oh, and now for that final joyful stage, the victory lap. I'll go and just paint the rim of that base. Nice and simple, no blending needed. Just a little bit of control. Oh, and there he is, spinning like a diamond on the moon. What a celestial energy we have captured with these magical lightning warriors of magical force. And where you can paint one, of course, paint a whole bunch. That's what tabletop quality is all about. It's about creating the footprint, the impression. Having one of these kind of medium painted models is cool, but having a whole horde of them, that's where the impact lies. And I like to add that just generally you see a lot of cold and dark colors on the main figure, and then we have the bright white snow to kind of complement. We have this bright and dark complementary combination, and then generally everything's very cold. Got a little touch of the yellow coming into green, but the Tamiya clear red, the little blood splatters, it functions as a nice spot color to kind of, complement the green, the blue, a little warmth with that cold, and that's the effect the shield has. But we'll get into the shield in the next video. So I hope that this tutorial has served to inform, educate, inspire, motivate, vis-a-vis, synergy, business, acumen. Berserker Riser, coffee, delicious stuff. Went down the wrong hole. Just kidding. See you next time. Oh yeah, let's paint the world.